Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouters Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouter on a Monday morning, where he is in the house as always. Grumpy is here. Despite a win, there is some still grumpy out there. We'll talk about that. Overall, a good weekend over here. Matosh is in the house. What's happening?
Yo, what's up? I don't never
I
know,
thought you were gonna I was like, all right, here we go.
dude. Every Monday morning, I just get so hyped to say hi and don't really think of anything else to say. So then I just sound like an idiot right off the bat, and that's just how I like to start my Monday morning. So we're here, we're ready to go. Let's do it, and we shouldn't be as grumpy,
We
honestly.
shouldn't be really. I thought it was. I mean, it wasn't like the best played game. But aside from a little bit of a built-in paranoia, I never felt like it was going downhill. Like even when it was like 3-1, there's that little but like it never felt like it was slipping away. So in that sense, it was under control.
Yeah, you
Set
would.
piece goals instead of conceding them all the time. I can
It's a
do that.
nice change. It's a very nice change. You would think that this team was like playing against prime Barcelona the way that some of these fans were talking about the game, especially when
Yeah.
the team was up 3-0, 3-1. They're talking about the how battered they're getting. And it's just like, are you like what are we even doing now? We can't even sit back and enjoy a game anymore without the toxicity. And unfortunately, I mean, I we've talked about it ad nauseum about what it'll take to get beyond that, and most of it's going to be just the manager, really. I think at the end of the day, but it's just for the last I don't know what do we have 2 months. Can we just I don't know just stay in the ride with hands and feet in the ride at all times and not say anything and just enjoy it?
Yeah, I think it's because Cersei is in the house. Good morning. Speaking of one of those guys, actually, Cersei was not around this weekend for the chat. He had other better stuff going, and I mean not better stuff, but bigger issues to deal with. And I hope all those are well. But yeah, I mean it's one of those where yeah, everybody has picked a side, and kind of like taking like jabs here and there when they can get it. And let's be honest, because of how we played, more than how we played, I think because of results, the slot in people are starting to get more jabs than slot out people, it feels like. So, but it's still, the negativity is still there. Even Cersei liked what Gakpo did. It's probably being sarcastic. I thought like overall, like he had a good game. Um, like even when we're winning, I mean, I'm not even looking at the Discord chat because the Discord chat's kind of like was instigated to go like one whole direction over there. But more importantly, like I look around and people are still complaining. Like everybody is constantly playing Football Manager in the background. I think is like the biggest issue. Even within that, people are like, "Oh, now so and so should go in. Now so and so should come in. He should get minutes. He should not get minutes and stuff." And yes, we've come to a point where we can't just even sit back and enjoy a comfortable win. Like really, it was. I worry as a lifestyle, and I was not worried. Even 3-1 is the first time I was like, let's not do this. Like,
Yeah.
let's finish a comfortable game because I wanted rotation towards the end and people rested knowing we're playing Tuesday again. Um, but I mean, what do you make of the game overall?
Overall, I think kind of harping off of what you're saying here, jumping off of what you're saying, is that it was a pretty comfortable game. And I think most importantly, we've had the question marks around this team on what it's going to look like without Wirtz, especially recently, because Wirtz was the engine of this team and sort of pulling all the strings, and having him out for a few games, you really questioned what that midfield was going to look like and what the attack was going to look like overall. So the fact that you can score 5 goals, and I understand it's West Ham, but West Ham hasn't given up 5 goals to every single team
Yeah,
this season,
exactly.
right? I mean, you have to appreciate what comes, because if you don't, that's when life loses perspective, when you can't even enjoy those small little victories there. And it wasn't a small victory by any means. It was a big victory, I think. And compared to last year, where around this time this team was starting to lose its form, I think now it's the opposite, and this team is really starting to gain some form. And this goes back to what we've talked about, and why we feel maybe and you more so strongly about the Champions League, because in that style of competition, form is the most important thing at the right time. It does not matter if you are 15th in the table. If you pick up the form at the right time, especially towards the end of the season, and you get to that stage where it's just a knockout, you get 2 games. And if you can get the best of the team in one game and just hold on for the other, that's all it takes. So I think all in all, it's a good sign going forward. And look, Frimpong's back. Hopefully he stays fit. Wirtz is coming back. Isak's due back at the end of the month. Like I don't know how much he's going to play, obviously, but like these are all really positive signs. And it's just it's exhausting trying to find the negative ones all the time.
I don't know, like that's the thing. If you're looking for them, the positive signs are there. But if you're looking for negativity, it's like dime a dozen over there. Mikhail Goat says, like, yeah, people are now saying we're set piece FC. I even put it in the description because we were talking about it over the weekend, and I am all freaking for it. I mean, in 2 ways, right? Now, when there's a set piece, I don't know about you guys, I'm more like, okay, let's go than before. Because let's face it, we were very, very ineffective in the past. And 2, I don't think people understand, like, as a defender, it really affects how you defend against a team who is good at set pieces. Because you're so worried about not giving up a set piece, like a corner kick or something like that, that you basically defend differently. So your clearance is different. What you do is different, because that's always on the back of your head that you don't want to give away a corner kick kind of a deal. So I'm all for it. I'm okay with being set piece FC. Look at Arsenal punching goalies on their way to a title just by like set pieces. I mean, I looked at that, not the best game, to be honest with you. I looked at that like Chelsea game for like a little bit over there. But here's the thing. This is where the league is going. And I don't know. I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask the boys at night too. But I mean, it's almost coming to a point where we give each team, you get 5 corners, 3 throw-ins, and 2 free kicks into the box. And then let's not play the rest of the game, because it feels like, I don't know. I got to look it up in terms of stats, but a huge majority of the goals are coming from set pieces. Is it just being highlighted, or was it always like this?
I don't think it was always like this. We go through these stretches of styles of play that get adopted by many teams in a league, right? And I think we've talked about that before too, and just how certain aspects of this game, as tactics shift, then so do the game plans that these managers come up with. And I think we're just sort of moving into this weird meta era of set pieces, because it's not just a big club thing, right? Brentford's been living off of set pieces as well. No offense to Brentford, anyone out there, the one out there, sorry, Glenn. So it's one of those things where I think it's part of the game. I think the thing that people forget, that it's always been a part of the game. I don't think it's ever been utilized as in a way where we're seeing it now. And because of that, it feels weird. And maybe some people don't like it because they don't like that style of gameplay. They want to see a more natural goal coming from open play rather than from a set piece situation. I mean, a goal is a goal in my head. So I'm okay. I'm happy with if it's going in. We were on the other side of it the whole year, like for the last 2 years, it feels like. So to be on this side of it, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe we never saw it as like Sergi's saying, like we were great with Klopp with set pieces, but not like we were good at it. Like we got a lot of goals counter-attacking from it. But I almost feel like that would be a lot less likely now. I just noticed like teams are using it differently. So we almost have to have all the bodies back now. In the past, I mean, we went out really fast. I mean, we scored a lot of goals counter-attacking from them. But it feels like, you know, everybody is so tight inside the box, then it just becomes like really, really tricky to start a counter off of it. You're lucky to just to get it cleared out of there. And that's, I don't know. I'm not too... I was on the other side of this where I felt like goalies were being protected a little bit too much. But geez, man, like you can literally like punch them now and it's all good as long as, you know, let's get some goals in here kind of a thing. It's like, what the fuck?
I'm glad that my goalkeeping career is now over because I wouldn't be able to handle getting... I would push back, and it would be very obvious of that I would be pushing back quite a bit, and I don't think I would last the whole game.
Yeah, it's freaking. I know, like, a couple of the goals I saw, I'm like, what the hell is going on? I mean, there is no way. I don't know what we expect goalies to do. So if the defense does not clear some of those balls, I don't know what the hell the goalie can do. There's no way you can expect the goalie in most cases to come out and punch that thing away now, because there's like eight. I don't know what they will change. I do feel like they will change it, because I think Gally was talking about it last week. It's really affecting the pacing of the game too, when there's like set pieces are so important, because every set piece takes another 30, 45 seconds to get ready for people pushing each other, the ref talking to them. I mean, the game could not be slower.
Yeah, it's a minute and a half per set piece, it feels like.
Yeah, it's crazy.
90 seconds every set piece that just eats away at that clock. And then it feels like the added time is also not then correspondingly equal to the time that is being wasted setting up these free kicks. And then you really feel like you aren't getting the time that you both deserve, really. I mean, it's tough.
I think it's because they're like considering it as like part of the game. Like, when they add minutes, they're like, okay, subs, goal celebration, we had one VAR kind of a deal. Like, they're not considering we got ready for 10 corner kicks, which took 20 minutes kind of a thing, and like added anything to it. I don't know. It just makes some of the games like really like unwatchable in terms of like keeping the pace. I don't know what they will change. The only thing I could think of was how many guys you can have like inside of the goal area from like an opponent team, but who the hell is or how the hell are you gonna monitor that kind of a deal? But that's the only way I can think of. We were talking, I'm like, what can they possibly do? We're talking with my brother, and that's the only thing I can come up with to kind of say, okay, you can only have like 3 guys in there, so that at least the goalie still has like room to come out and stuff. But it is becoming a rugby scrum.
To that rugby scrum point, and sort of to yours as well, it's starting to create a really big imbalance on the calls that are made in the box, and understanding what is considered too much contact for a foul and what isn't considered too much contact for a foul, because now we're getting into another degree of consistency that we are not going to have across the weekends, right? Because this one ref is going to referee this physicality different than this ref, or I don't know, maybe the moment of the game, it gets called differently. Because we know that anyone who's played, anyone who's watched, really, you could sense that sometimes referees make certain decisions based on the actual context of the game and won't make a call because of X or Y, or will make a call because of X or Y. And it's human nature. It happens. But as you get 16 guys in the box now, all wrestling each other, who's to say that this one wrestle is just enough to penalize for a penalty kick versus this one that isn't?
Yes.
And so that's going to be, I think what needs to change is going to be around the verbiage of what is then too much for a foul, because it's going to lead to not a very good, consistent watch.
I feel like if you want it to, it's become like, if anybody watches, like for those who watch NFL, it's like holding. It's in every play, actually.
Yeah.
If you want to call it, it's there, but they're not all called. And I feel like, when you look in the box, some of the contacts, I mean, that happens in midfield, they're probably going to call that. Whereas in the box, they call it sometimes, and sometimes they don't call it. I thought there was some horrific, I think Serzi was talking about the United one. Tomorrow night's Rival Bros, I'm going to ask Edip too. He kind of played coy this weekend. I did not want to address it in the chat. But, I mean, I feel like that is such a lame penalty and a red card that changed the freaking game, for example. I mean, the goal that Spurs conceded, I watched mostly like highlights this weekend rather than games, but I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's like 2 hands on the back pushing the good. It's like, what do you want him to do?
And then we see it called in the game, like right before it or right after it, going the other way, right? And that's so frustrating. Especially, I mean, going back to the United game, the Cunha one is one thing, but then Maguire feigning getting kicked in the head after heading the ball, and you can see there's a good 8 inches still between the actual cleat and his head. And to think that we have this system put in place of VAR to help alleviate this kind of poor gamesmanship, if you will, but it's still not doing anything about it, is ridiculous. There should absolutely be a way to retroactively go back and penalize guys for doing things like that. The Cunha one, I mean, we can go back and forth. I think most of us think it's a dive, but there's enough contact there to say that, okay, maybe, there was just enough. But when you clearly see someone not getting kicked in the head and they're acting like they just got shot, you can go back and say, no. This is not how it goes. We need to do something about it.
I mean, set piece FC, I'm all for it, man. Scott Adam was listing. I mean, first of all, the first three guys are not really, they don't need to go. And I don't know. We got so much time to go before we get there, kind of a deal. I mean, some of those people are not even here right now, so I'm not concerned about them leaving. Gomez and Jones would be like an interesting topic, but I feel like, we got months to talk about that. Luckily, we don't need to talk about that now because and we're in the Champions League spot now. With Chelsea losing, I was kind of torn in that game. I think a draw would have been the best way at one point, because I was like, you get the fun of Arsenal like fans freaking out and Chelsea losing points at the same time. But having seen Chelsea's schedule and the pace that they get red cards in, I just don't see them keeping up. And Villa like starting to collapse more and more and more. It feels like you're a lot safer. People were worried about, they were talking about Europa and stuff like that maybe like a couple of months ago. It feels like we're a lot safer in that sense now. But here's the thing with that. I saw that Maguire thing. He's going to be like, oh, no. Because sometimes like you head the ball and because of like where it hits, like it feels like your whole brain shook kind of a thing.
Yeah.
He's going to probably claim that, for example. But that's something that they had to do something with the head injuries, the faked head injuries to stop the game. I feel like it's becoming slower and slower and slower. Like the game is becoming slower. And I don't know, that's because the players are all for it too. These guys are playing a lot of games. So 50 seconds here, 20 seconds there. They're getting their rest in mid-match so we can get more mileage out of these guys. But it just feels like the game is so much slower. And I feel like the product is getting worse. Like the set piece thing we talked about, where the set piece is the focus. So it takes 2 minutes to set the set piece up. And then we see it like a header go over. So we just wasted 2.5 minutes of our lives for like a lame set piece. Yeah. And then these like injuries, the game stops constantly because everybody falls and holds their heads because other things are not basically being stopped. Only the head injuries are being stopped.
Yeah. And so the only way to get the call then is to just pretend you got hit in the head. And I don't know what the fix is going to be for that. Someone much smarter than me should make that decision and hopefully that'll work out.
I mean, the faking the injury thing or faking the hit thing has been around since, the beginning of time kind of a deal. And, I've mastered the art of it in some ways. Just get a little bit of contact and act like you're like, whoa, that's a free kick. I'm falling right on the ball right here kind of a deal, right? I'm okay with that. But now you have VAR, like you're saying. There is a way to see that. What I worry, though, is they're not going to look at every single frame of every single game. So what's going to happen is they're going to find a moment where Konate is doing it. And, you're going to be saying, hey, what's up with the one that Maguire did? And they're going to be like, well, he headed the ball, so it hit his face. That's why he thought it was foot. It was actually ball. And then whereas Konate did this. So we're going to have another area. These guys can freaking manage a game and make the right calls. I don't want to give them one more thing to look at. But there has to be a way to point out the obvious. If you can go back and take away cards and stuff, we should be able to give cards.
Right. Doesn't that make sense? If you can do one but not the other, then what's the point of doing the one before that? So it's and not hilariously, I don't know. It's always just about consistency. That's the only thing we're ever going to come back to is consistency. And I don't think we would care as much if there was the consistency. That's all that we hope for.
Yeah,
amongst all of it.
Scott Sandham says the Galatasaray game will be tough, especially at their ground. I don't know. What did you make of that? Obviously, we didn't get to talk about it. Came up on Friday.
Yeah.
I was more looking forward to being on the other brackets because I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but that's ridiculous how one side of the
It
bracket is
is.
cake, where Arsenal is, and everybody is on the other side, like us, City, PSG, Real. Everybody is on the other side over there.
Bayern, yeah,
Yeah.
it's so weighted on that left side, or right side, depending on however you
But
want
in terms of
to say
opponent,
it.
let me
But
ask you that way.
yeah,
If you didn't look at the brackets and where you landed in the brackets, um, Galatasaray versus Atletico. Like, did you have a preference?
I think Galatasaray was my preference
Okay.
because I know that this team struggled against Galatasaray earlier this year, but this team seems to always struggle against Atletico Madrid. Like I always think back to that Champions League game under Klopp still, where they came to Anfield and just absolutely just destroyed all of our souls. And it's one of those teams that you hate to play against because they're so physical, and this team does not play well against physical teams. I think that's my biggest worry, is that this current Liverpool team is sort of weak. Not in the sense of maybe a little mentally, but just overall, they seem to be just on the more cute side of football rather than on the hard-nosed type of football. And Atletico is full of guys who are going to go in just foot first, head first into everything, every single tackle they make. So that's the only thing that worried me with Atletico. So I much preferred Galatasaray in that sense. And over 2 legs, you should be able to beat that team. I think this team could beat any team in the world over 2 legs. It's just a matter of making sure that, again, the form lines up with where you're at in the season. And I truly do believe that I think we're finding the right form at the right time. And I know that the bracket is very weighted on that left side, but it's the Champions League. You have to beat the best teams to win the entire league. And I get that, Arsenal's path may be easier. That could also be a hindrance, right? You play against much weaker opponents and you get to the final, let's say, or they get to the semis against Barca if it goes that way, and they haven't been tested, then what, right? I think that the more you're tested, sometimes it goes both ways. The way I look at
it, though, is there are like some games over there where they could, I don't know if they could finish, but they could really like go to get Leverkusen, for example, get like a 2-3 goal lead in the first match and at least rotate a little bit in the second game in the beginning and say, hey, if things start going south, we'll put the big boys in, but we'll keep Saka on the side and rest them for the weekend, kind of a deal.
But we've always talked about how it's really important. It depends on the team, obviously, but it's really important to keep that engine going, and you don't want to make any changes to that, right? So if you can mentally and physically be up for it every single game with the same guys, that's a big difference than
that's fair.
Than the mentality of taking a break and sitting and then having to go back to it the next week.
But I think it's different throwing the starting 11 out there. I mean, let's look at it this way. Like, look at this weekend right now, for example, right? Like, you have the leads. It's a 3-goal lead. It's easy to say, why don't you put Neon in for like 10, 15 minutes? Or why don't you put this guy for 20, 25 minutes? So at least getting 90 minutes on those guys' legs, you're kind of like getting, 60. So you don't necessarily have to even rotate your starting 11, but you can kind of get some rest and not have to. I mean, it's different going against freaking like Bayern or like Atletico for 90 minutes. And not to say like these teams are going to be much easier, but relatively easier when you're going against like Bayer Leverkusen and stuff like that compared to like a Real Madrid or City or something like that on the other side. So if City is going against Real and having to chase around Vinicius and Mbappe on defense, and you're kind of playing a control game against Leverkusen, like Arsenal will have an advantage. But hey, City is the last team to complain about the draw like ever, because they always get like the easiest draws and all, especially like the local like FA and like the FA Cup and stuff. So they have no room to complain.
It's always the easiest draws domestically, but every year in the Champions League, it's always Real Madrid. So I mean, at least they get that. And I think going back to just overall, because I know Friday I wasn't on the show and I wasn't able to watch it, but I know that I was reading about some of the stuff people were saying about the weightedness of it. And someone made a good point in that the Champions League will make more money off of really good fixtures week after week going up to the final than just having a lot more balance throughout the bracket until the final two meet, right? So like having City and Madrid going, and then one of those going against Bayern, and then having Chelsea PSG, and then one of those going against either Liverpool or Galatasaray. Like those are marquee games that will make them more money because they have two of them as opposed to just the one final. So I think in that sense, when people were talking about it, things being rigged, the only rigging I could see is to make more money because you get to see these matchups once more than
you
the
put
final.
those teams together, you are going to get matchups.
Yeah.
I think the only weird thing was like the balance of the two sides. I mean, if I gave you those teams, whatever, if I said don't get any good matchups, you're not going to be able to. Like, what am I supposed to do? There's like 10 good teams that if they play each other, it's going to be a good matchup. So
Right.
I think that, but the fact that, one side, it's just like very lopsided when you look at it. It's like where ours, of course, the side we're on. And I love how people are like, you got to beat the best to be the best, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have to, you don't have to. I always go with this route. Like, people are always like, I want the toughest matchups. Like, why? Like, why do you want the toughest matchups? I'd rather take the easiest route possible. It is automatically going to get tougher as you advance because there's not going to be easy matchups left. But I would rather play like freaking Sporting or something in the final than somebody else. So, yes, Chris, thank you. I do forget. Yes, if you're watching us, first of all, thanks a lot. Do hit that thumbs up so some other poor soul can come across this as well. And then if you haven't subscribed, please do so as well. We're on our way to like 1,600 or something like that. So slowly climbing up the steps over here. I like us building numbers because I feel like, especially when we come to fundraiser time and all that kind of stuff, it's going to enable us to do a lot more this year than we did in the past too. But Sergi says, I hate Arsenal so much. You don't say. We would never know.
News to me. I did not know you felt so strongly about that team.
Yeah, it feels weird. Like this weekend, like I'm like, because when we're talking with my brother, I mean, are we all heavily rooting for City? And isn't that really ironic? Because I feel like I don't hear one person rooting for Arsenal over City for some reason.
Yeah, it goes to show how much everyone else really hates that team and that fan base. I think it's the fan base more than anything because I think as a team overall, I don't hate the idea of Arsenal. Like I hate the idea of other teams, right? It's more so the toxicity of who they have brought in and then the fan base around it. For a fan base that really hasn't won anything in quite some time, they're pretty loud. And so with City, we're just so used to their success and with the amount of money they've spent and with the whole 115 thing that we'll never actually get the conclusion of, it's sort of just like a point of, yeah, okay, whatever, they can have it. And we'll always look at it going, yeah, okay. I mean, not as impressed given what they did and the competition that they had against. So outside of, the several years that this team was pushing them all the way to the end with the limited amount of resources that comparatively they had to City.
Is there some part of it where, see, I agree with what Chris is saying too, because City is definitely a lot better to watch, but let's face it, like we were saying, City was boring to watch a couple of years ago, right? So like they would bore you to death. I mean, they were kind of like what we were last year. I feel like, they would take the lead and they would just bore you to death and still squeeze in a couple of goals here and there and like continue to play, but it wasn't all set piece based and all that kind of stuff. But is part of it because we suffered from City, so now we want others to suffer from City as well, so we would rather have City win?
I like that. Like, hey, welcome to the pain that we've had the last 8-9 years, you fuckers. Like, enjoy it now because this is what it feels like year after year. It's gonna be even better if they do end up slipping out of this out of first at the end. I think that's gonna be, I don't know, maybe one of the worst collapses in the last decade, would you say? I mean, with given what they had.
Yeah, I think more than like the chances they had, it never came to a point because they could never bring it to that point. They had so many. I think I can count at least 2 or 3 circumstances where if they came out on one, our game was one of them for Arsenal. It would have been like, yeah, they're gonna run away with this now. But they never could take that step where you could say, oh, they're gonna run away with it now. And then obviously, like losing points and getting City closer. I think of all teams, getting City closer is the issue. Adam says, I don't hate Arsenal. It's the fans that are annoying. The Arsenal fan channel. But hey, man, I've been saying this for quite some time. We became like, over the last 3-4 months, you see a lot of it, sadly, in our chats and stuff like that over here. Then they get over the top negativity. Like when something goes down, like the sky is falling over the top. I mean, I guarantee you, like if I go and watch this week, they're probably all back at it again. But when you look at it, like I was like came across my feed last week as I was working and I was watching a video, like they have. I just don't understand how people cannot have any like be able to step back and look at big picture at all. And it's always like, oh my God, like they're always like freaking out. Like they're always freaking out at the smallest things. And I know the dude has not really won anything, but I feel like that's something we didn't do. Even when we didn't win, we lost finals and stuff like that because of the direction we were going. We were still like, wait, like everybody was behind Klopp. I don't think anybody said, oh, he hasn't won anything yet, though. We need somebody to take us further because you saw the direction it was going. I just don't understand some of the over the top, like Arteta hate they have. I know why I can't stand that fucker, but I don't understand why their fans have some like over the top hate for him.
Fandom is a fickle thing, and I think we can better understand it now when we see the hate for Slot, though, right? Because I feel like before, when you saw what Arsenal was doing and sort of the trajectory they were in, which was a very positive trajectory from when he took over, that you would look at it from the outside and go, okay, but they're building, they're getting better, they're now competing better than they have been. So, where is this hate coming from? And then now that we see what is going on our end with the hate for a manager who won the Premier League last year, like we can sort of start seeing, okay, these fans sometimes are just really fickle and some of them can just never be satisfied. I think that's what it comes down to, is that some people just can't be satisfied and they can't find happiness in things that they should try and find happiness in because they're just maybe just sort of a miserable person. And I that's at least my theory, because I can't imagine going through life with that much frustration and negativity, to the point where I have to find it in everything that I look at.
Yeah, people always, this is why we can't have nice things. I don't know. I do notice that recently. Maybe like how I look at sports has changed over time as I became an old fart or something. But it does feel like even as we're winning this weekend, people like kind of complaining and extremely unhappy. Like it's one thing. I was like, yeah, maybe like putting the subs in an extra like 5-10 minutes earlier. But I didn't lose my like shit over it, or I didn't lose my like mood over the fast, like, that what I wanted didn't happen and stuff because we were winning. Who the hell freaking cares? Like, it's just people make that, and it's one thing to have that opinion. I totally respect that, but making that a source of misery is just, I just don't get that. I really do not. Hassan says, is that could be because Arsenal is the third most successful club in England? See, I don't think so, because they haven't won anything at least significance in quite some time, right? So we're talking like what, league is 22 years?
Yeah,
and it's not like they won like European trophies or anything like that. I mean, I know what Hassan is saying, maybe to old timers. So you should ask the elderly audience members who are from UK, I guess, because I mean, obviously I'm nobody's more elderly than me, but I don't hold it like that. But I would think a lot of young people do not consider Arsenal to be like that. Even, like statistically, I don't know if that's true. I'm going to take Hassan's word, but I mean, that was, for example, I was like, oh, really? Like I don't consider that as a Manchester United is what I consider in terms of challenging for trophies in England, nobody else really comes to mind.
Yeah, historically, yes, right. Over the last 10 years, it's only just City. But historically, you put Liverpool, excuse me, Liverpool and United in that same tier, and that's, I think, more than anything, it's the most exciting thing to see those two clubs. I truly feel, and I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. I truly feel like the league is better when both United and Liverpool are good, because the product then that you get overall is great when it comes to an historical aspect, when it comes to a present aspect, when it comes to just the overall idea of the game in the league. It's a better league when they're both really good. And I can't say that I feel that way when it's Arsenal and City being very good, when it's City and Chelsea being very good, when it's Liverpool and City being very good. Even then, like, there were moments where, like, yeah, this is, I mean, obviously it's good for us, but overall I was like, I don't know, it feels like it's missing something. And so that could be, you know, one of the worst takes I've had. I know I've had a few, but that's where I'm at.
No, I think that's fair, because I don't know, in the global scale, probably, because if you are, I don't know, if you're like an outsider fan, yeah, like Liverpool and United going at it for a title race is a lot probably more attractive than Arsenal and City going for a title race. Like, I can say for around the world. Like, I know, like, yeah, maybe people in London might not be as happy, but no one will care. Like, around the world, it would be more of a what's happening this week and stuff, because it's like bigger clubs, bigger fan bases and stuff. So it will definitely get more attention. I think it's because they have the most undeserving fan base, who some of them think we cheated the title last season when we dog walked Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal is, I think it is the fan base mostly. I mean, for me, a huge part of it is Arteta, to be honest with you. But you look at how, like, the club as a whole, I don't have a, like, kind of similar to you. I don't despise them as much as, for example, I do United, right? Like, if they were in the title race, I'm not going to look. I think this is a good gauge right here. If they're not in the title race,
you don't care what they
I don't look at the scores and be like, what did Arsenal do this week? I could not fucking care less. That's where they are for me. Same like Spurs or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what they did. I'm not going to be like, where are they? When we were playing City, we were going back and forth with City. I wasn't like, what did Arsenal do? I couldn't care less. Whereas I probably still looked at what United did, maybe because I can rip on my brother or something. But either way, I still looked at what United did. So you deserve a knighthood status.
That'll be Sir Matos to you now. Acknowledge me as such, please and thank you.
He's already a prince. You don't have to give him a knighthood. I mean, Jesus. Scott Adam says the problem with Slot is the football is boring.
Did you feel that way last year? Is the question, or is it just because of the results that you feel that way? I think that's a distinction that we have to have, that we've talked about, is that no one called it boring last year when it was 2-0 all the time. They were talking about how controlling and how fundamental and how just comfortable this team was. That was the word that we heard a lot, comfortable. It wasn't boring, it was comfortable. But now that the results are going the other way, suddenly it is boring. It's not comfortable. And so I think there are things that have to change. Every manager has to make some tweaks at some point, because they understand that they can't do it the same way all the time. There are going to be other managers that are smart that will figure that out and they will play differently. And Slot isn't a dumb manager by any means, and he does the same things that other managers would do, and he then makes the changes he needs to. Usually, I mean, I think last year we saw it maybe a little bit more at halftime making those tweaks, whereas this year maybe it's felt a little bit like that's a part that we've been missing a bit more, is just seeing, like, genuinely seeing those halftime tweaks. But other than that, it's been similar. It's just that the end result hasn't been the same.
I think it's going back. I agree to that. First of all, I've been saying that for quite some time. Winning is fun, so you're still gonna have fun because your team won. But I do agree that, yeah, I mean, because it was controlled and you were like, ugh, like put me to sleep, put them to sleep, 2-0 slot special. We take the 3 points. I mean, we won, march to the title kind of a thing. But that always goes back to what you were saying. People are never happy. So now we're like, okay, we won. Now we want to win and be entertained. Like, I want Salah juggling as he scores and shit. So it's kind of like becomes that. I think one, summer didn't help because people thought we walked into the title, like just cruised, and then you added these superstars, so it was going to be like Harlem Globetrotters out there, I think was the expectation. And then especially when you start 5 out of 5 wins, looks like you're going to run away with it again and it collapses. I think the reaction was over the top, as opposed to if we started the season with like a win, loss to draw, win, it would be different. It looked like we were running again, and I think that drop was huge. But this is, I think, a big part of it. I freaking it went away now. But I mean, Chris was saying boring football isn't a slot issue; it's a Premier League issue. I think more than that, I think winning football right now is boring. Is that fair to say? Like, who do you consider right now to be playing exciting football and winning? Spurs games are really exciting.
But you don't get the win. No. I was gonna say, yeah, it's not quite there. You would probably have to look outside of this league. So if I can answer, it would be an answer outside of this league. It'd probably be a team like Bayern who get to just do whatever they want on the pitch because there isn't enough competition for them. So they get to play exciting football because they get to play wide open football. They get to play against and do whatever they want because they have the entire league wrapped up by October every year.
Yeah, I mean, became used to Klopp. I don't know if the Klopp will be playing like that now, or maybe Klopp saw the light and said, yeah, this is going downhill over here and I'm not going to play like that. Maybe that's part of it, because it's, when teams are doing low block and they're just playing long ball, you can't. How are you supposed to gegenpress if they're just booting the ball anyway? You can't. And then they just like freaking, like sit back. Tottenham, I mean, that's the fact that that's a possibility is ridiculous. But yeah, I agree to this. There's no way to, that's what I'm saying. There's no way to press that. And let's face it, we had a really, really tough time breaking down teams. That was like the huge thing at the time, right? They were like, oh, Thiago is here now, he'll needle a pass and shit. I mean, that was always our issue. It was like, we need the number 10, is all we kept saying, because we could not break down a low block either. Because, let's face it, we didn't have size. The front three was not really built on size. It was more speed, agility, and movement. And there's nowhere to move when everybody else is from the opposing team and inside the goddamn box. There's like, can you shovel your bait? It's like sardines in the box over there. But yeah, I think football itself, sadly, winning football has become boring. Yeah, like I want to see, like, I felt like there were more games last year that I'd be like, oh, that should be a good one. And I would start watching it, and I would just watch the whole game. I'll be honest, like even games that I feel like that should be a good one, I start watching it and I start losing interest just because I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. I think more so, I mean, for me specifically, I think adding the schedule of coaching basketball for me, it took away so much of my free time that I didn't even look at the weekends and think I want to watch this game or that game.
Oh, okay.
And I think so that part, I mean, unconnected to the product on the field, for me was just like, I don't look at anything and go, yeah, I want to watch that, which is complete opposite of where I've been my entire life, which was annoying. But like you're saying, I had all the time in the world yesterday and I was like, no, I don't feel like watching any of this. I turned on Arsenal Chelsea and I was like, I'm done. I can't do it. I'm done. So yeah.
Same. Yeah, same. I made it a half.
No,
and then I was like, friends lured me to Call of Duty instead. I was like, I'll just go kill some people instead. Kind of a deal, which, is always more relaxing doing it in a virtual world. Arsenal, honestly, this is like an interesting one. We should do a poll for Arsenal fans. Would they rather win the title or Spurs get relegated?
I think they would rather win the title because That's like asking us, would we rather see this team win the title or United get relegated? I think we'd say we'd win the title. Yeah. Because again, to my point, I think the league is much better when both teams are good. Maybe Arsenal fans don't feel that same way about Spurs, but Spurs haven't been anywhere near as successful to feel like there is a rivalry worth challenging for. You know what I mean? Like, I get that it's a big rivalry in a big derby game in London. I truly get that. But Spurs have been so unsuccessful for so long. Why is it even as big of a derby as it is?
I think it's like us with Everton. If you think about it, Everton has been battling like 16th, 17th all the time, but it's
more
still
successful than Spurs, though.
Not really. You get to figure
over time,
like a European trophy, for God's sakes. That's the comment. That's how good the Premier League is, though, compared to other leagues. By the way, that the shitty teams in Premier League. I mean, look at Europa now. You're gonna have probably Forest. Obviously, they advanced, getting past Fenerbahce now, and then like Villa. They're like I know Villa is the favorite. Forest was like the 4th or 5th favorites to win the Europa now, and they're battling for freaking relegation in the league over there. I think they want both. Can't have your cake and eat it. I don't know. I think the fact you might be right, because they have not won in so long. Because when you asked me, it made me think for a second, because we just won.
Yeah.
Like United getting relegated and talking to Edip about championship games would be so fucking exciting. But I got to ask Edip this question tomorrow. But I think the fact that it has been so long since you won would make, I guarantee you, he's going to say, because I'll ask him both questions. If United wins the title this year, would you want that next year, kind of thing? Edip has been rooting for West Ham to go down for a while. Who would you rather go down?
Between those 3 teams?
Richarlison going down is so fucking delicious. It's hard to pass up.
It is really hard to pass up, given all that we've been through with that man.
Spurs, West Ham, or Forest is gonna be the third one. Which that Burnley game, by the way, was like ridiculous. This weekend. I guess people were doing the goal rush. Was the goal rush our game?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I was watching just our game, so I was like just getting updates and stuff like that from people. I just went and watched the highlights. But then when it went there at the end, Burnley scores that goal. And yeah, that was, I don't know, like, don't get me started on these handball calls, man. It's just like freaking ridiculous. But
consistency, keyword of the day.
Or lack thereof, yeah. Out of those 3, who would you rather have go down? Because I'm going Spurs.
Let's go Spurs. It would be hilarious. They were just in a Champions League final, 7 years ago, 7-8 years ago, and they were on the trajectory. You really believed in that team. Like that was an exciting time for football overall. When you think back to that Champions League season, and you think about Ajax and Madrid, you think about the Ajax and Spurs tie, you think about the Liverpool Barca tie. Right, that was such an exciting product of Champions League, and it was one of those moments where you're thinking like, wow, this could be really fascinating going forward. And then Ajax sells everyone, and Spurs absolutely just plummets and crashes out of any chance of realistically playing in the Champions League final again. And so to see almost how poorly they've shot themselves in the foot with, I would say, Daniel Levy's managerial choices. I think they could have done a lot better, been more patient with a couple of the managers since then.
Especially Pochettino, like, I don't understand why they gave up so fast on that.
Right. So I think it would be awesome because, and then someone's mentioning Van de Ven would be quite cheap, and you could pick him up, and he probably, now you can convince a player to not be a starter if it means they're playing in the Premier League and not the Championship.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold. Actually, yeah, that would be a good thing. Jimmo says Wigan won the FA Cup and went down the same season. I mean, heck, the FA Cup, like, a domestic cup is like totally different, though. I feel like, because you can get some good matchups, and you can kind of you're talking about only 3 or 4 games you're winning. Whereas I think like in Champions League and stuff, you do have to win so many big games along the way. You can't. I mean, unless on the fuck we were just talking about, unless you're on the right bracket, I guess. But I mean, there are some teams over there. Actually, if you think about it, they can make it a semifinal without maybe playing against any big boys and get there. But I feel like in the FA Cup, you can get some like easy draws. Maybe like it's like a Premier League team out of form at the time and stuff, and make it to the final. And it's an event. Anybody like when they make the final and can win it, I think. But Champions League, you can't get like a lucky run.
And those domestic cups, it takes a while to get into two legs. Most of it is just one game, and we know in this sport anything can happen in one game. So I think that's the big difference between the domestic cups too, is that you don't have two legs for the majority of it.
Yeah, true. Leicester, I mean, for Leicester though, first of all, I mean, that was like right out of nowhere, and they got like picked all over the place, right? Like they got like all their top guys.
Exactly. You have to recognize that if Mahrez was able to stay, if Conte was able to stay, if Danny Drinkwater was able to stay along, like these are things that change the trajectory of that club overall, is that they just got picked apart by bigger teams that had the money and wanted those players. You have to give credit to Leicester in the beginning of just being able to actually find these guys and be able to then find a manager that made it work. And then you just have Jamie Vardy having just one of the most incredible runs ever in the entire in the league's history. When you bottle all that up, you get some magic. But the problem with
it is lightning in a bottle.
The problem with that is it runs out, right? It doesn't stay.
Like, I don't think they would win the title again, but they wouldn't have fallen off the face of the earth, like Chris was mentioning. Greece winning the Euro. Talking about boring. I bet you nobody in Greece is right now. I'll ask my friend Marcos, because we're gonna go back and forth on like Facebook Messenger at times. He's like a Liverpool fan in Chicago, actually, not neck of the woods over here. And I guarantee you, nobody from Greece is like, we played boring football, though. They probably remember that Euro as like the best thing ever. And they were, goddamn, they were boring to watch. Like, just defend. Mourinho was watching that with like wiping his tears off, probably. The way they parked the bus. I mean, it was just like amazing and boring as fuck, that tournament. Somebody was mentioning, I'll ask you that. If Arsenal bottle this, somehow they don't win anything this year, or they don't win the Premier League or the Champions League. I don't know if League Cup or FA Cup is going to save the day over there. I mean, I think any fan, and I'm not saying it because it's Greece, really. Costas was not even there. But at the time. So, well, first of all, they wouldn't be able to defend as well if Costas was there at the time. But I think if you ask anybody who watched that, I think there was a thing about rooting for the underdog, but nobody is going to tell you they played great football. Like when Denmark won, was that Denmark? It felt like they were playing good football as well. Whereas from Greece, all I remember is just defending and then
squeaky 1-0 victories.
Yeah, they were onto something maybe. But would Arteta stay if he does not win one of the big ones? Ooh, wait. You can't just get it. Wait. Okay. Clipping the shits. Because if that happens, I want him to wear the guy. I want photos. Like, I want him on the Thursday Night Podcast, like turning around, constantly showing it and stuff. Yes, take a picture of this. I remember that because, the whole Yugoslavia thing was happening at the time. Yugoslavia was like a beautiful country back in the day, and then
now it's a beautiful couple of countries.
Yeah, now it's like a couple of. I'm sure they're beautiful again now, but that place got torn apart so bad during those years. But sound like an old guy. You won't remember these. Your kingdom didn't have anything to do with this back in the day.
My kingdom has been ransacked by other kingdoms many times. It's dark. But Arteta, the man of the hour, Mr. Mikel. Despite the hate I have for him, and despite I think the over the top hate from the actual fans of the club, I feel like he'd have to stay at least another year. I don't know. I can't. Who do you replace him with that would do a better job than him right now? Or
I mean, if we
would you
think
get
the
the same
slot thing
product?
is bad though, dude, and let's face it, we're coming to a point where the slot in and slot out thing. You were mentioning it when we first entered the show this morning that it's so polarized that you don't even know if there's a way out aside from slot leaving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of how polarized, especially Arsenal fans are going to be. So every time they get a draw, I mean, they've been like that, for example, for decades, mind you, but how polarized it would be if they don't win anything this year. Unless they're up by like 25 points, when are Arsenal fans, the Arteta out people, going to be quiet?
Maybe that's a good point. Maybe, yeah, maybe for the sake of the polarization, that this would be the end of it if he can't produce a result, because especially when you look at what they have going for them right now in the league, and then you can look at what they have going for them in the Champions League with the bracket, like you're saying, on which side they're at and who would they have to play. I mean, really, the biggest competition is going to be Barcelona in the semifinal. There really isn't going to be another team that tests them unless Spurs make the semis somehow. Or, I mean, I don't know if it's a semi or it's like whenever it is.
Well, Spurs, I think, would go against
Barca.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Spurs would have to beat Barca over 2 legs to make that. I mean, now that would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing to see Spurs make the semifinal of the Champions League, beat Arsenal over those 2 legs, and then just get destroyed 6-0 in the Champions League final. Because that's exactly what would happen. They would, and it would be great for everyone except for Arsenal fans.
I mean, yeah, I think that's the thing. I watched that game yesterday, and it's another set piece goal and stuff. And you're like, I mean, like, what are they doing? Like, I don't look at Arsenal. I like how they're solid for the most part defensively, I guess. Like, controlled it is in midfield, but that's because when you play 6-7 defensive-minded players as their focus, I guess you are going to be a bit more sound defensively, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't look at that team. I think Chris was saying it earlier. There were times when you watched that City team and you hated it, but you were like, God damn, man, they're good. Like, their movements, how they get people down the line, how they create chances. When we were going back and forth with them, you're watching their game for them to trip up. And you couldn't help but say, God damn, they're freaking good. Like, the way they move the ball around and they create chances and shit like that. Like, I watched that game yesterday and I never got that feeling. I was like, I mean, like, what are they even, like, are they even doing anything? They're not even like really doing, and they're going against Chelsea, which I know is like like a London derby and shit like that again. But even when they were up like a guy, it did not feel like it. And I did not think like they play. I don't know. I've never watched Arsenal and say, I like how sound they are, but their attacking football does not look, well, I don't know, it's there, but I don't see it as attractive.
The only sounds you get watching those games are from the players whining about every single call. That's the only sounds I get from Arsenal games.
Yeah, just it's a corner. Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, City, United could all have new managers next year. This is a good one. Out of those,
I mean,
5.
Hold on. Does Michael Carrick count as then a change if he's? I think that's already a given, right? That there's gonna,
unless it though, because Adib does say it's a given, because like we were talking about this on like Rival Bros with Edit, which is now on the EPL channel, by the way. So if you do miss the 2 Bozo brothers talking about that stuff, I'll shoot the link over here. Do subscribe. Tuesday late nights is how we roll on that channel there. But when we were talking about it, like interim manager, it's a bit easier to come in as an interim manager and say, okay, what do you guys want to do? I'm just going to let you guys what you're going to do, as opposed to me having a way I want to play and I want you to do it. And if you don't do it, you're out. Because that's what Amram was doing. That's what a manager does normally. But as an interim manager, it's a bit easier for Carrick to do it, because he's going to come in and say, Bruno, what's going on here? Who should play how? And then that's fine. And then you tell Torgo where to go, and you kind of like let everybody be happy and play that way. And sometimes it brings results in the short run, but not a long run thing, because obviously there's no consistency to it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. So, but that's at what level does it become a possibility, I guess. I mean, if they end the season top 3, do you actually consider that then? Right? I mean, that's a question that is not for us, nor should we spend too much time talking about it because it just feels gross. But I think there's a point to it where it makes sense. But I don't think. Let's see, what was the list? Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, City, United.
Yeah. So he gave. Let me go back because he gave. What is that? 6 teams.
I
Five
think.
teams for those different counts. Yeah.
I think 2 out of those 5 will have new managers.
5. 1, and we are counting United. You said.
Yeah.
1.
So 1 more.
2. I'll go 3 just because.
3. Okay, so
difference.
We're both with Spurs, yes?
We're both with Spurs. I'm going this way. Either Arsenal or City are gonna win the title. Whoever doesn't win leaves.
Is out.
Yeah. Arteta being fired, Pep saying, "Yeah, it's been fun. I'm out."
Okay, that's fair.
That's why I'm saying 3.
Yeah, but definitely not all 5. 3 is going to be the max. I cannot see a world where all 5 of those have new managers.
Because Chris says Slot stays this summer and wins the league next year. I mean, that's a huge question to. We're probably gonna get I don't even know if we're getting the answer in the next 2 months or the answer has already been decided. I just can't make up my mind on that. Like the powers that be already know what their game plan is, or are they really saying, let's see what he does? Because I feel like if it's the latter, it's extremely unfair when you did not get him a center back, you did not get him a right back and stuff like that, that the squad clearly needed. You made long-term decisions in January, which I'm okay with. I'm fine. But then I hope you made the long-term decision with the manager at the same time, knowing for the short term you're screwing him over.
Yeah, agreed.
What do you think will happen? Or what do you think is the case right now?
I think the case is that he is staying. I know it may not feel that way given the lack of resources given in January, but that could also be market related in a way where there is a plan for him and them in the summer. And they might look at some of these guys overall that are going to be coming back and being fit and healthy, hopefully, and looking at it going, there are enough pieces here where we didn't have to emergency buy. And they might be okay, more than us as fans, okay without winning a trophy this year, or whatever happens, they understood that maybe this was a transitional year and they're going to end up wherever they're going to end up and go from there. There's a world where that is the case, where they have just already decided no matter what happens, unless this team is fucking relegated, like there is nothing that's going to change because we believe in the plan that we have put forward from over 2 years ago, right? Yeah. Because this ownership group isn't a fickle ownership group that looks at something in so short-sightedly. They look at everything long-sightedly, right? So they're thinking, I'm thinking that they've looked at all of this and gone, wherever this team ends up, be it 3 through 7, 3 through 6, wherever it is, we were going to be okay with that and understood the possible financial ramifications because we believe in the path after.
That's fair. That's fair. I didn't know you could actually pin comments, but I am pinning this comment over here and I'm leaving this. We're going to close the show with this on the screen so we can do a screenshot on the way out as well, that if Arsenal bottles everything, Sergi is getting a shirt that says Gakpo on the back. I can't wait. I'm excited. Even Gakpo, he will admit that Gakpo played pretty good. Gordo pointed it out, by the way, when Gakpo scored the goal, half the Discord chat was like talking about what a deflection it was. It was just as much of a deflection as the Ikitika goal, but nobody called out the deflection then. So let the record show. But let the record also show if Arsenal bottled. Another reason to root for Arsenal bottling everything is there. But I'll be back tonight with the gang, 7 p.m. Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Do tune in for that. We'll talk a lot more about the game. We'll probably dissect the game a lot more. But I do want to ask him a couple of the things we talked about over here too. So do tune in for that, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Have an awesome Monday, everybody. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.